Hi, I'm Cheryl,
I'm Dan, and welcome to our podcast.
where we're talking to real people about real problems in real situations.
So grab a cuppa while we talk founder life.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your journey to where you are today.
Not sure how interesting that is.
Why do you do what you do right now?
Yeah, so I didn't start out to do what I do now. I actually now really love what I do, and what actually does drive me to do it now is the interaction with people and making a difference to their personal financial situations. But how did I get to do it, and how the journey's kind of evolved is quite a varied one. So I originally started out wanting to be an osteopath, which is something very different. I was enrolled in university and was due to go the September of the year it was. We at school we went on to something called Insight into Management, which was where you go off and learn how to run a business just as part of your A-level studies. And that the mentor at that was area manager at NatWest, and they gave me a business card and said, if you ever fancy doing something different, give me a call. I dropped out of uni, gave that person a call, and ended up working in banks for the next 10 years of my life. And through various different routes through working in the banks, I got qualified as a mortgage advisor, then as a financial advisor, and the goal has always been really to stand on my own 2 feet, run my own business, be kind of the master of my own destiny, I suppose. So I slowly worked towards that, and here we are now.
Here we are. So what would you say, obviously you've had a bit of a journey there, so what would you say is your biggest failure along the way, and what did you learn from that experience?
So when I earlier in my career, working at one of the big banks, I had a few incidences where I thought I was doing the right thing, but turned out not to be the right thing. Because in my eyes, I was just trying to do the right thing for the client, for the customer, and it was the best outcome for them, but not necessarily for the bank. So I got my knuckles wrapped for that, shall we say? And I think the biggest lesson that I kind of learned there was you do need to take, before you do anything, you need to pause, take that step back, try and see things from as many points of views really as you can kind of see it from, because what initially might not look like the best route forwards is not necessarily always the right one.
But at the end of the day, if the intention is a good one and you're trying to do the best, you're going to do what you think's right, aren't you?
Yeah. I do always try and put the person I'm dealing with first. In anything I do, I always try and sit in their shoes and think about it from their point of view. Because at the end of the day, I'm dealing with their money. They trust me to do that. So it's important that I kind of get a feel for how they think and try and think in the same way. So I always try and do that, but it is kind of sometimes, I suppose the best way to explain it is sometimes it's not the way that necessarily makes them the most happy is the right way to go. So sometimes maybe the way I should really have said it is sometimes you've got to have difficult conversations, which might be something that the person doesn't want to hear, but it's actually in their best interests.
Yeah, of course. At the end of the day, that's what you're there to do, isn't it? And I don't think any person necessarily always is going to get told what they want to hear, but at the end of the day, if it's for the right reasons and it's going to help them, it's the right thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
So kind of leading on from that then, so if you could go back in time
Mm.
to your 18-year-old self with one piece of advice, what would it be?
Um, it probably would be just don't be don't make excuses to not give things a shot, just not to have a go at things. There are so many things over the last, I mean, it's more than 15 years ago since I was 18, but over the last 15 years, that um, that I have procrastinated over, delayed, overthought. Um, that really, as soon as I got stuck into, I
Yeah,
achieved or done. Yeah, so yeah, just go. You have to do your research. You have to be prepared, but that's it. Once you're prepared, then give it a go, because
yeah,
you're never going to be in a position where it's 100% going to be the right time to do it or whatever else. So
it's never
yeah,
the right time, is it?
no,
And it's never
no,
perfect.
no. So yeah, just do it. It's probably
Just do
the
it.
coin a phrase from Nike.
Just do it.
The slap on
Yeah.
the
Cool. So obviously you've had a lot of people around you, as you said, that guy initially at your uni day, career day, whatever it was you said. Sorry, the he's influenced you to drop out of your uni course and join that West.
Mhm.
So I'm assuming there's been quite a few influential people around you, or you know of. Who would you say has been your most influential person, and how have they impacted you and your career, basically, in your life?
Um, I'd say the most impactful person was my granddad. Um, he run businesses, and pretty successful ones, to be honest. Um, but yeah, he was the person that not necessarily gave me any advice why recently, because he died 7 years ago. So, but a lot of the things that he said as growing up, it just always resonated with me, and I still apply now. So things like, um, you never try anything; you either do it or you don't.
Yeah.
Um, he used to say things like that, and those sort of things just always resonated with me. And just watching him, like his work ethic, but he always had time to put the phone down, or come away from what he would have called a computer, which I would have called nothing of the sort. It was huge and green writing on black background. Um, yeah, he'd always have time to put that down, and if you needed him, he'd be there. So that work life balance as well, which is extremely important. It's basically, I suppose, the way to translate that is, be busy, be busy doing things. Don't be busy running around like a fool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So he was a big one. Um, and then it's just people that books I read and people I look up to on telly and things like that. Really.
Yeah. And that kind of, obviously you've touched on the work life balance in there. So I was going to completely left field deal with, if you could live anywhere in the world, where
Mm.
would it be and why?
Ooh. Um, I have spent I spent a lot of my childhood in Spain. So
Mm.
my my family have a villa in Spain, and we used to spend the summer holidays, um, half terms, everything out there. And just because it's got good memories, nice sun, um, good quality of life, and it's not far enough from home to have excuses not to come home. I mean, at the end of the day, Stansted's what 15 minutes up the road from where we are, and a flight is an hour and a half. I've done longer drives to and around the M25 than that.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, it would just mean all round quality of life and nice sun.
Yeah, it's very similar to mine actually.
Yeah, and obviously the nice childhood memories.
That's lovely. So a game me and my husband play a lot when we're in the car talking about car journeys is what would you do
Spend too much
if
time
you
on
won
the
bigger? Yeah, far too much time. What would you do if you won big on the lottery? What would you spend it on?
I love what I do, so I'd plough a lot of money into the business, and growing it. But without sounding too noble caused, I've always liked the idea of helping homeless, so like a homeless shelter, running and setting up a homeless shelter.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, that's what one of my ideas. But yeah, the majority of the money I plough into a business. I have no desire to own expensive fast car. My house is big enough as it is.
Do you think actually having that money in your hand though would change that, or do you think that you would do what you do now? What do you think? Oh, sorry. Do you think having the money in your hand would change that, or in your bank, or do you think you would have the same mindset as what you've got now?
I think it would change a few things. So I think it would change how how often I go on holiday, and kind of maybe where I go on holiday to, or not having to worry about not booking that hotel on that website because on this website it's less or whatever else. Basically, I'm just talking about sensibility there, I suppose, with money. But I don't like people being too in my personal space. I struggle with it. I struggle with so it's things like, if I've got a big property of that sort of size, I'll need a cleaner, I'll need a gardener, I'll need all these sort of things. And I had a cleaner once and it lasted all 5 minutes because I couldn't stand in my personal space all the time. So if it got past something I could deal with, I think it would cause too much negativity for me just to portray something to an external image to others.
I totally get that. Totally get that.
Yeah, it's a bit sad, I suppose, but yeah, I don't like people. I wouldn't. Yeah, even the window cleaner bugs me when I'm sitting here doing it, and the big brush smashes on the window.
That normally scares the hell out of me. You can guarantee they always come at the least whatever the convenient time is, can't you?
Yeah, big presentation going on, and then boom.
Yep, definitely.
Can't stand it. Yeah. So no, no, I don't think. Maybe something. I don't know. Maybe a little bit more space. I don't know, but not anything that would be outside the realms that we as a family could control and deal with. So
yeah, that totally makes sense. It'd be similar, I think. But then just never know until it's there, do you?
No, and that's the thing. And I always say to people, you don't want to die the richest person in the graveyard.
God, no.
So then what do you do with it? So if I'm not going to buy a bigger house, if I'm not going to buy an expensive car, what am I going to do? So it's a lot of traveling, or yeah. But then I suppose, yeah, as I say, ploughing money into the business. Well, how much you plow into that, because that only gives you the same problem, because the more you plow into that, I suppose the more money over the long term you generate, the more you earn, you just end up with the same problem again. So
Yes, I guess so. Interesting one, isn't it?
because but then as I say, I do like the homeless shelter thing would.
Yeah, that would be amazing, and that would help so many people.
And I always think, if you think back to, I don't know, I think back in my life, the times that I've probably been most happy is, and it's probably why I really enjoy doing what I'm doing, it is helping, when you help someone and they get that extra boost from it, or that bit of elation from it, or you've improved improved something. And that's the sort of things that make you most happy. Not a nice car does make you happy, but not for very long.
No, I heard recently, I can't remember what I was listening to, but they were saying about it's the pleasure, but it doesn't necessarily make you happy, and expectation of that, isn't it? And if your expectation is met, then you're going to be happy, but you could have the best or the fastest car in the world, but if it doesn't meet your expectation, it's never going to make you happy. And it's one of them things, isn't it?
Can't drive it properly anywhere anyway. So
What's the point of having a fast car in England where you can't drive very far?
Yeah, I have to move to Germany. There you go, that's what I'll do with it. I'll move to Germany.
Oh, Lord. Cool. So I'm going to move on a little bit now and see about your business and obviously what you do and everything. So what's one thing that your business has done or has taught you that you didn't expect?
It's quite a few things. But in the interest of not keeping you here forever, I suppose I don't think anything can ever prepare you from making that jump from being employed to running your own business. Just the amount of things that you don't even consider that you need to juggle, that you totally take for granted. Even something as simple as, yeah, right, you might be able to personally budget, but how do you budget for your business and all that type of thing? It's given me a whole new level of skill that I never knew I even had.
You do learn a lot about yourself, don't you, in a very short space of time?
Yeah, and you learn very quickly whether you're capable to step up to a challenge or not. So I think it's made me learn that I'm actually much more determined than I ever thought I was. Because you go through some tough times. I mean, especially at the start, there is times when you I mean, not every business goes through this, and they don't. Some start and they don't experience the same sort of journey. But from my personal journey, for the first year, I was wondering very much why I did it.
Yeah, I'm sure you're not alone there.
Why, whether it's, you're not earning the same money when you was employed, or because you're dictated by when people pay you, or when the provider pays you, that might not be the same day that your mortgage is paid, or whatever it is. You do have some times when you bash your head against the wall, but you keep going and you can come out the other side. So yeah, it's taught me to probably just, if you know in your gut, you're doing the right thing for you as an individual, you just need to keep going at it.
Yeah, no, gut's very powerful, isn't it? I know you shouldn't just rely on your gut. You should have facts to back it up, but you always know, don't you?
You just get that feeling, don't you? And at the end of the day, yes, there was the times when you think, oh, what have I done? Or you're working longer hours than you ever expected to. There is, if you're doing something you love and not neglecting anything else, then that's worth more than any of it anyway. So
Oh yeah, definitely. definitely. I think that's the one thing that as a business owner is what you learn, you feel grateful for, but that's what keeps you going, isn't it? The fact that you know you're getting to do what you love
Mm.
at the end of the day. That's
Mm.
it.
Not, and I never knew how much you could. I never knew how much I really enjoyed my job really until it all rested on me, rather than just doing your job for the sake of someone else.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's much more, I don't say satisfying, so it's not quite the right word, but you just feel like you've achieved so much more, don't you? Doing it for yourself, and yeah, I suppose
Definitely,
it's satisfaction. You get a lot more out of it, definitely.
definitely agree with that.
Obviously, there's yes. So, um, challenges we face these as business owners
Hmm.
more regularly than we probably care to admit. So,
Yep.
what would you say is the biggest challenge you're either facing right now or have faced in your business? And how did you tackle that challenge?
Uh, Probably client acquisition was the biggest one, um, because when I started out, I started with nothing, which is quite rare in what I do. It's quite rare to start something and not have some clients that are coming with you, or whatever way you want to look at it. So I literally started with nothing. So it was client acquisition, and it was how do I do that quickly, effectively, without massive cash spend.
Mm.
Um, and the way I tackled it um, was literally just trying to talk to as many people as I could as often as I could. So I spent days walking up and down Chelmsford High Street, walking in and out of solicitors, in and out of estate agents, in and out of all these places, just not necessarily asking for anything. I just went and I sat, introduced myself, didn't even talk about me or what I do, asking for anything. Just sat and just spoke to them, different people, related to different people. And then, after a few months of doing that, you start to get phone calls from people saying, you dropped in that day, you had a chat, can you speak to this person about this for me, please? And the first uh, person that kind of contacted me was one of the solicitor firms that I walked in to.
Oh,
Um, so yeah.
yeah, I guess that's one of the really big things with service businesses, isn't it? It's you've got to build those relationships. It's I always found that when I was at networking events and things, if you've got a products based business, it's so much easier to make those first few sales because you've got something tangible. But
Mhm.
as a services business, well, you're not actually physically giving someone something, are you? It's you've got to build out that trust, that rapport. They've got to like you at the end of the day, because they're never going to refer you if they don't
I'm
like
quite
you.
difficult to like, so
Oh, that's true.
yeah, but yeah, it's true. It is very, very true. And but I've always found I've never liked it when on LinkedIn or anything like it. I'm just using LinkedIn as an example, but on LinkedIn, when someone connects with you, that you can, and then immediately you get hit with a, we do this, and this is what we're,
Oh,
and I just think,
yes.
well, now you've got zero chance of me using you. You've made no effort at all to understand me. Do I even need your service? What makes my business tick? All you've
I've
done is
blocked most of them, to be fair.
yeah, I wish I did. I don't do now. But it can be good because, well, it can. Things can come good from it. But I always think that when I go to connect with people or talk to people, I think it's so important that you don't think about it of what's in it for you. You've got to think about it what you can do for them.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
definitely.
um, and even if it's just time, then that's
Yeah.
that's fine. We think about how we met. That's
Exactly.
through LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And I'm just going to caveat my last point. I know it's not easy to sell products to, but it's just easier. Because I know someone will say something to me at some point. It's not easy for us either. I know.
No, it's not. But there's a common ground already, and the common ground is I've got something you want.
Yeah.
So there's already that common ground there. The hard part is then saying, right, you've bought one. Do you want another one? And you buy another one in 3 months or however long it is. That's the hard part for, I suppose, for products to repeat. But whereas services is the other way around. It's once you've got that relationship,
but the repeat is easier. Yeah.
Mm.
No, it does. So what would you say is like the most important lesson that you've learned over your career?
Give people time. I'm a talker, as you probably already gathered. But I think giving people time is one of the most powerful things you can do.
Yeah.
Time is precious to everybody. It's pretty much the only thing you can't get back in life. So I think if you give people your time, it just helps everybody.
It definitely does. It is very, as you said, it is very, very valuable, isn't it? Commodity. It's your time. No, it's really, I think that's a lesson that we don't learn quick enough though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's something I've only learned in the last 3 years or so, I suppose. But someone told it to me when I first started out in one of the trips up and down the high street. This one was in Cambridge, actually. And it's someone now who's actually a very, very good friend. Told me that you just give people time. You know, if they need your time, give people time. Always make sure you give people time. And he said to me, you may have to give people a lot of time before anything ever comes of it. But if you give people time, something will always come of it. And it's true, because, I mean, I suppose what I do is quite niche in terms of that. But I've given people lots of time for nothing. And I've got phone calls out of the blue where they might say, so-and-so said I need to call you because I need to talk about X, Y, Z, pensions or protection or whatever it is. And all of that is just because I made sure I gave that person the time that they needed and deserved. So it's sometimes as well, it's don't just pass something over because you can't see the immediate value in it. Always just treat people how you know, if you would want that time, give it to them.
That's a good one. Obviously, somebody gave you that piece of advice when you starting out. So, what if you was talking to somebody now that was just starting out in any business, really? What would you give them as advice? What would you say to them?
I suppose it kind of depends upon the back where you're coming from and to. But I think one of the most important things is don't be scared to take that first leap. Don't be scared of failing, because it's not. If you learn from, the first thing I'd say is if you learn from it, it's not failure.
Yeah.
And secondly, what's more scary? Not doing it and always wanting to do it or giving it a go. Because, you know, if in my example, if it didn't work out, then I'm sure there was phone calls that I could have made where I could have been employed again within a couple of months. And what would I have lost? Nothing. I would have achieved a lot knowing that, do you know what, I always wanted to try that and it didn't work, and that's fine, but I tried it.
Exactly. You need to know, don't you? It's better to know you've tried something and it's not worked than never try and have that what if. I know we use that a lot, that philosophy with different things. It's like, well, what about this? What about that? And then they'll say, right, well, let's just give it a go. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least we know.
Yeah.
we can do something different, or we can
Exactly.
learn from it, as you say. You learn from it, and then the next time you give it a go, you're that little bit more, well, you know a little bit more, so you might do it in a different way. And
I think that's a mindset as well that I got, because my first ever job when at college was working for a telephone sales company called the 118 Group, and we used to ring and sell people advertising space. But the whole mantra behind that was, you could make 50 calls and only one person would buy that ad space or whatever it is, but you had to have that mentality of every no was that one step closer to a yes, which is the same sort of thing, really, isn't it? It's like as long as you've got to keep. If you didn't, I could have stopped making those calls and then never got a yes, but you just need to keep going, keep giving it a go.
definitely.
Not that I enjoyed making those calls, mind you. But...
Oh God, we never do we? I still don't make it. No, I still don't enjoy it. When I have to do things like that, I still don't enjoy it. I still don't enjoy like walking into a networking room where I don't know anyone. It's always, you're always going to have things that are quite daunting or you don't like doing, but it's pushing yourself to do them anyway, isn't it? And that's where the growth is. That's where you learn. That's where you progress and you get more confident. 5 years ago, I'd never have done something like this. You wouldn't have even got me on a video call, let alone actually doing like a video, recording a video, and push myself out of my comfort zone. And I'm sure you're the same. You just push yourself to do it, and that's when you get somewhere, isn't it?
It is, and yes, it's exactly like as well, like training in the gym, isn't it? It's you get stronger because you do the exercise, you tear your muscles, you put yourself through pain to get to that end goal. It's exactly the same principle. You put yourself through it to get to that massive bicep, if you like. I'm terrible at analogies, so that's why that didn't work.
I think it's a good one. I think that's one somebody, even if you don't go to the gym, you can still relate to that, can't you? I think it's a good one. But yeah. So I'm going to change tact a little bit here. So obviously you're in an industry that's well known and people think they know a lot about your industry.
Yep.
What frustrates you about your industry and that people may not fully understand about your industry as well?
Okay, so first thing that frustrates me is it's archaic. It's still very paper driven. It's still very hard to do anything, and it shouldn't be. That's not going to change anytime soon. A lot of there's some providers out there that are really trying to change things. So you've got probably 2 or 3 now that are completely digital. They still need signatures and stuff, but it's sent out electronically, signed electronically, gone back electronically. So
yeah,
all completely digital. The other 95% aren't and still want paper sent in the post with a wet signature. And processes are just archaic as well. So much of it needs updating, but they know it, but it's just happening really, really slowly. It shouldn't.
Your hands are tired as well, aren't they? Because it's not, you can't drive that change. You need them to.
No, I can only really drive it on a lower scale for my clients. So it's like I don't think people should pay for things they don't need. I very much have that philosophy, but I do try to use the few providers that have the tech to support it, because I don't. Most people I talk to, and me especially, would as a minimum expect to be able to get out of my phone, press an app, and see how much my pension is worth, or see what life cover I've got, or see what I'd expect to see that. But there's about only 3-4 providers that do that.
Which is crazy. There's so much you can get at your fingertips, yet you can't get information that's important like that.
Yeah, and most of them don't sign up or have any interest in open banking, so you can't even get it on open banking apps. There's a few technology providers that try and pull it all together within our industry, but then, you know, giving that to a client is not really the same thing. So because the information isn't live, it's as the data feed comes through, and it's just, yeah, so no, it's archaic. So yeah, I'd really like it to to get a bit more advanced. There is people that realise that, and they're trying to do something about it, but it's not going to change anytime soon. Unfortunately, in our industry, is a lot of people that are from a previous era.
Can understand that. Which kind of, you've already half answered my next question. How would you like it to look? You've already said you want it to be more digital, but
Yeah.
how? Obviously, you think that's going to take a while. What do you think it will look like, say, in the next 5, maybe 10 years? How do you think the industry will progress?
So I'd like to think where we get to a stage where me as an advisor could have a piece of tech that means that I could put protection with anyone, pension with anyone, ISA with anyone, and it all be able to be pulled together. It is starting to happen. I mean, we have, as an advisor, I have that tech. We just don't have it to pass on to clients yet. So I'd just like to see it, so that for someone to be able to see everything on an app, they don't have to put everything with the same provider, like with this one provider, or it'd just be a bit more easy to access random information. Yeah, and also transferring from one provider to another, whether it be, you know, your cash ISA from your bank to an investment ISA, shouldn't take 4 to 8 weeks. But it
That's
does.
forever.
It shouldn't, but it does.
I can believe that it does. It doesn't shock me. Frustrating for you, though.
Yeah, well, it is as well, because, you know, there is big caveats as well that we, you know, you tell clients when we sit and do it, which is one of them is time out the market. So while you're transferring from one provider to another, you're not in the market. So the market goes up, you lose growth. If it goes down, you win. But who knows which one's going to happen? So the longer you're out the market, the bigger your risk, the bigger the danger. So it shouldn't take 6 to 8 weeks, but it does.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It should take 7 working days max, and that's enough time to sell, have everything settled as cash, and send it on to the new provider. But
yeah, I guess there's a lot more involved in it though than we mere mortals think that there is. Because to me, I'd have just thought, oh right, we just got to cash out, transfer it over, job done. But no, clearly not.
So if you're coming from like an investment, they would have to sell down the investment, wait to receive the cash from that investment house, then send that to the new provider for them to then send the money back on to the new investment house and have it invested. But that process should really only take 2 weeks. It shouldn't take longer. The rest is just pure bureaucratic admin that isn't needed.
Wouldn't surprise me. Good old admin.
Yeah.
Paperwork.
Yeah. But that, yeah, I suppose the other part of that you asked me was a common misconception, I suppose, but it's probably that like people talk to me and stuff about investment returns, and, you know, where's the best place to invest my money? Should I be investing it in shares, or, you know, common question at the moment is cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
I would categorically say that is a massive misconception. That is not my job.
No.
My job is not to tell you where to invest your money, what a best investment strategy is, or anything like that. My job is to put your money in the right place at the right time to meet your goals, and make sure that you don't take risk over and above levels that you are comfortable with. It's not to buy and sell funds and try and get you additional investment returns or anything like that. It is using your money as tax efficiently as possible to make sure it's in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. And there's people that literally just buy and sell all day, isn't there? They're the ones that are actually making those investments, aren't they? That
Yeah.
I
So
have learned something.
that literally we use what there is advisors that try and do it, and there is advisors that try and do it, and they try and do it to cut costs down. But we personally, my view is I use professionals to do it. People that do it
Yeah.
every single day, have copious amounts of data at their fingertips. If they wanted to ring and speak to the FD of a very, very large corporate company, they could do it, and it will, the receptionist would put them through to have that conversation, because they know the person calling is like very important and wants to know this information. Whereas if Dan calls from Temple at 10 p.m, can I talk to you because I want to know what you're doing with me? They go, no.
Yeah, exactly. I guess it comes back to that whole being an expert in your field, and you can't know everything, and you're an expert at advising people where to put, not where to physically put the money and buy them the stuff, but what to do for the best for their goals. And then the next people take it on and do their bit of their expertise. They can do what you do. So, or they may be able to try, but won't do it as good as you because they don't do it all day.
Yeah, but if you talk to professionals that manage money, like investment money, most of them say, I don't want to talk to a client because I have no idea what I'm doing. So I don't want to talk to them. I'll talk to you and tell you what I'm doing, and you can relay it to the client in the way that they in a way that everyone understands. But I don't want to talk to a client because I don't know why you've used a pension rather than why you've used an ISA and not used a pension. I don't know why you've done this. I don't know why you've done that. So
you're a bit of a buffer in between the people doing that and the clients. Like when we talk to HMRC on behalf of people, we're the buffer in between. Yeah. We're not working for them. 9 times out of 10 we don't agree with them, but you're putting it into that language and you're helping the client to understand the bit that they do.
Yeah. So, I mean, I suppose then the next question I normally get is, right, so where do you add value? Why are you worth paying for? Well, if that is within 10 minutes of sitting down and going through maybe a cash flow planning or just simple calculate, you will see the tax savings or potentially how much longer your money will last than it would have before we even touched it in retirement.
Exactly, which they wouldn't be able to do.
No,
they wouldn't have a clue.
So it's like just literally simple thing that sounds simple but are not, because people you just wouldn't think about it or have the knowledge to do it. Just saying, look, what we need to do is, rather than you just, most common people retire and they just go, right, pension, I'm going to take all my pension. But then that might not be the right thing to do. It may be better that you take a little bit from your pension, a little bit from an ISA, a little bit from your cash savings account to build up the income you want. And that could make your money last 10 years longer, 5 years longer, because you're not paying tax on it, or because it's just being managed in the right way. And that's where the value's added. So
yeah, no, it's important. It definitely is to speak to somebody who knows what they're doing. That's for anyone, I think. If you don't know everything about everything, you don't, obviously when you start a business you probably are doing the majority of the jobs, but you didn't train to do those jobs. You train to do what your business does, and it's getting that person who does know what they're doing to help you is going to get you further. At the end of the day, that's all. That's you're always going to go further with somebody who knows what they're doing.
And I think I've never had a scenario that are at the end of an annual review or like a second or third meeting or whatever it is that people haven't gone, I've got out of this more than it's cost. So and at the end of the day, if you don't, I can't do it. So
exactly.
Yeah,
you can't do it all with half the information, because it ain't gonna be right, is it?
And I think that's another common misconception as well, but maybe it's different with other advisors and different people, and probably similar to what you experience as well. But if I don't think something's right, I will say, leave it exactly how it is.
Yeah,
Don't touch it, don't go near it, we're not doing anything.
exactly. There's no point in doing it just because everyone else is doing it. It's
Yeah.
got to be right for you in your
Yeah,
circumstances, isn't it?
exactly. And you might already have something that's totally fit for purpose. So why touch it? Why move it? Why get charged on it? Why do this? Why do that? So if that's the case, then no, that's a common misconception. I think people think that they're going to sit in front of a financial advisor and they're going to get sold something, or they're going to move they're going to have to do something or take out something, or there's going to be a charge. But no, it's the answer to that.
No. Well, we're going to wrap up shortly. So I've got a couple more questions I want to ask you that are probably a bit out there. And but anyway, so the first one, and I know you're a Dragon's Den fan, like I am. So if you went on to Dragon's Den,
Yep.
who would you want to invest out of any vote? It doesn't need to be the current dragons, could be any current or previous dragons. Who would you want to invest in your business, and why would you want them to?
Okay. I think it would have to be someone that understands a service-based industry, hasn't necessarily got, that understands how that works and what that needs. So you've got, I suppose, if I know you said not current, but Stephen Bartlett, he's service-based, selling advertising space for people. That's a service. You don't have to do that. So yes, maybe someone like him. It's the past and present because he's been on it forever. Peter Jones. I like Peter Jones. He's someone that probably understands more industries than most that are on there, because he's invested from anything from product-based food to subscription services, service-based to lots of different things. And obviously, I quite like the fact that he's tech background, tech heavy. That would help push forward my goal of our industry becoming more tech-based.
Yeah.
You'd like to think.
You'd like to think, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, one of those two. Maybe I do quite. Thinking back past. I forget a surname now.
You're gonna test me now because I can't remember all the old ones.
No,
There's a little while I didn't watch them.
It will come to me. She started and run Red Letter Days. Sarah.
Oh, I know who you mean, but I can't think what her name is. Yeah.
Yeah, her.
Yeah. I'm sure somebody will be able to enlighten us. I will think of it later. When you're in bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, you'll come to you and you'll be like, "Oh, that's who it was."
Yeah. Because of she had something that no one knew they wanted.
Yeah.
And she had to show people that it is something that you want or you need or you should have, and there is value in it. So I quite like that. So maybe her.
Ooh. All right. So my last question. What's one question you wish I'd asked you today and I haven't, and how would you have answered?
You put me on the spot now. I hope you're pleased with yourself. I don't know. It's a difficult one. I mean, I think everyone's always happy to. I don't know. It could be. It's kind of hard because I think everyone's happy to kind of plug their own business and what they do. So maybe something on that basis. I don't know, but I think I think I think just maybe ask you just around the process of maybe starting up, and like how that went. And I mean, I know I alluded a little bit to the pain of that, but yeah, just maybe around the start of the business and how that went. And I would have answered it with a lot of pain, but a lot of reward. And there was a lot of choices to make at the start of it, of whether I go completely on my own, I piggyback off someone else, or like a hybrid between the two. I go directly to a network or a provider and say, right, can I offer your products and services? But for lots of different reasons, I chose to set up my own business within another business, because it gave me security that if anything went wrong, I'm only liable for myself, and I haven't really lost anything. It meant that I get access very, very quickly to everything I need. So compliance, the insurance, all the literature. I don't have to sit and write up pages and pages of client agreements, because if any of you have seen a client agreement from a financial advisor, you'll know it's 23 pages long of hell. So I wouldn't have had to sit and written any of that up. So I chose to go down that route, which has just worked really well, to be honest. So
I guess, would you say that's kind of like a franchise way of doing it? When you buy a franchise, you've got access to all of that sort of stuff. Would you say that's kind of the model?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's pretty similar. Yeah, I suppose it is actually. It's pretty similar. I suppose the only difference is I do not answer to them. So everything is me. I don't have to do things in the same way that they do them. I don't have to. The only thing I have to do is charge the way that they say I can. I basically charge in the boxes, the parameters that they give me. But other than that, anything's up for debate. So, but yeah, a franchise is probably a really, really good way of describing that.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I've learned a lot, and it's been a really good conversation. So,
thank you. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode.
If you did, please like and subscribe, and we'd also love to hear your feedback. So please leave us a review or drop us a DM on our Insta @Found to Life Podcast.
See you in the next episode.